you ever asked yourself, do you have what it takes to be a nature and wildlife photographer? Or maybe you just ask, well, what does it take to be a nature and wildlife photographer? Well, hey y'all, it's time to answer your questions. You've asked me about my camera setup. What do I use to make these videos? How do I take nature and wildlife photos? And I'm going to share my deepest and darkest secrets in this video. Well, not my deepest and darkest secrets, but I'll answer what I use and why I picked this gear. I'd like for you to share your thoughts. Did I make the right choices? What do you use? And what do you think would be the perfect setup for nature and wildlife photography? I needed some help to make this video, and I asked a nature and wildlife photography expert to join me. And she wasn't able to make it. So I settled for a far less knowledgeable guest that many of you may recognize. Well, hey Monk, thanks for joining me. Well, thanks Dan, it's good to see you too. I do want to say something about that far less knowledgeable. Do you remember when we first got into videos and photography? I do remember hiking the trails in North Carolina, especially Burkhead Mountain and the Uwharrie. Well, actually, it was long before that. Let me show you what I found. Well, wow, look at that. That's your old Pentax K1000 35mm film
This was
camera.
my first camera that I got as a second lieutenant during engineering school at Fort Belvoir, Virginia, back in 1979.
So what got you into all this video and photography stuff?
Well, that's a good question.
When I began making videos for YouTube, I had a hunger to just keep improving. I watched others and I took tips for improving. My competitor was really always you. It still is. I just want to have better audio. I want to improve the quality of the images in my videos. I want to take better photos. I want to be a better storyteller. Storytelling?
Yeah, I want my videos to be more than just walking down a bouncy trail. I want to share the place, the feelings, the experiences of these places. Sometimes I do better at capturing these things than at other times, but I'm always trying.
So what was the first camera that you used for hiking?
Well, I started with an action camera. Not this GoPro 10. My first action camera was actually a GoPro 8. It did me well. This was my camera on the Appalachian Trail and from Georgia all the way through the Smoky Mountains in 2021.
So what's all this stuff?
Now be careful with that. Now this is a big investment for me. I want better images of landscape and wildlife encounters while I'm outside. So I added to my photography kit. Now this is a little Sony A67, and it's my favorite camera of all times. It's really small, but it packs a huge punch. This is an APS-C camera. It means it's Advanced Photographic System Type C. It uses what's called a crop sensor. It's smaller than a full-frame camera, but technology's made up the difference between the full-frame cameras and these smaller sensors. This is a 26 megapixel sensor. It's backlit. It helps with low light photography performance. The sensor is stabilized to help me get a sharper and cleaner image even when the lens is zoomed out. It uses AI for autofocus to detect the focus on the bird's eye or the eye of an animal, even insects. It has an electronic viewfinder to help me frame the shot. And the whole camera is weather sealed. All of this in such a small and lightweight package that's perfect for hikers.
Can I hold it?
No.
Well, what about all these other lenses?
Lenses you see are the eyes of the camera. They function a lot like our own eyes. There are aperture blades inside the lens that open and close to let more or less light into the camera's sensor. It's sort of like your eyes dilate or contract to adjust to the light around them. So the amount that those blades open and close is measured in f-stops. For example, this Viltrox lens is an f1.2 to f16 lens. Okay, I'm lost when you start talking all those numbers. What do you mean? The lower the number, the wider, the more dilated the opening of the lens. Aperture is key to exposure. It's part of what's called the exposure triangle. Aperture, shutter speed, ISO. Okay, this is a 27 millimeter lens, and that number is the focal length of the lens. Focal length is like your eye's field of view. Well, my view's getting a little blurry with all this technical stuff. The bigger the number, the farther out the images are captured. That's the distance that's zoomed in to appear closer to us. Well, you asked. And anyway, this Viltrox 27 f1.2 Pro lens is for landscapes, to capture those close images with blurry backgrounds, and for astrophotography, like this Milky Way photo. Well, those are amazing. It offers really sharp images and great low light performance. It's the perfect lens for this style of photography. Well, each lens has a specific purpose, and together they let me take photos and videos from inches away from the subject to hundreds of feet from what I want to record. Each lens has advantages and disadvantages. Together they cover the complete range of photos that I hope to record. Well, look at this Tamron 28 millimeter to 200 millimeter zoom lens. At its 28 millimeter focal length, it's close to the 27 millimeter of my Viltrox lens. However, this aperture is not as wide. You know, the Viltrox lens has an f1.2. This starts as an f2.8 lens. Also, this lens isn't stabilized, so I depend on the in-body stabilization of my camera to help me get those clear photos. This Tamron lens offers a good zoom range out to 200 millimeters. It helps me frame up the landscape shots and isolate parts of the scene that I want to capture. It's a very clear lens, and it fills that needed gap in my photography. Now, this lens is brand new. This is a Sony 70 to 350 millimeter zoom lens. It gives me the added reach that I need for some of the mid-range wildlife photography. This is proving to be a great lens for me. It's really compact for a lens of this range, and Sony's G series is a step up from their standard series of lenses. Now, it's not a G Master lens. That's their top tier lenses, but it's really good, and Sony hasn't made G Master lenses for APS-C cameras yet. But when I really need to reach out for some long range photos, I go to this. This is my Sony 200 to 600 millimeter lens. You can see it's also a G series lens. Well, wow, that's big. Is it heavy? Yes, it's heavy. Well, can I hold it? No. Well, how do you carry all this stuff? Well, I do have a couple of ways to carry it. On day hikes, I carry it in a camera backpack. This is my camera backpack. I carry all my gear in here. It's rugged. It has padded inside compartments to keep all the gear safe. If I go on longer hikes or adventures, I have to choose what I really need to take with me. And then I use this camera pod made by Osprey. And I can put my gear in here. And I can put this in my backpack, and it keeps it all protected. Well, it sounds like a lot of work. The weight's got to add up. I bet most folks never realize the work it takes to make a video or to get a good photo. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but when we're doing the things that we love to do, the rewards are worth it. Yeah. Well, this has been fun. Thanks for inviting me. Let's do this again sometime.
Well, thank you for joining me, Monk.
Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay on the path.
God bless you.